costs in the long term. The second must-win debate for Labor is our response to the digital revolution. The word revolution is overused, but one of the few true revolutions we have experienced in our society over the past decade has been the impact of the spread of digital technology on the way that people communicate. Before coming to this place, I spent the better part of 10 years working in the ICT industry, and I've seen the pace and scale of this change firsthand. Consider that the first iPhone was released in this country in the year after the Rudd government was elected. In the barely 6 years since, the proportion of the Australian population who own a smartphone has exploded to over 72%, all of whom are now walking around with a computer processor in their pocket more powerful than those used by NASA to put a man on the moon 50 years ago. However, for all its technical wonder, the most important aspect of the digital revolution is not technology, it's people. The internet has made it dramatically easier to find other people who are passionate about the same things you are, to share information with these people, and then to collaborate on producing altogether new information with others in these communities, often for non-financial motivations. This new mode of production, peer production, has brought us a series of what Australian economist Nicholas Gruen has called emergent public goods. Goods like the new Linux operating system that supports the majority of the world's web servers, the Android mobile operating system operating on the majority of the world's smartphones, and Wikipedia, the largest encyclopedia ever produced. At the same time, social media has allowed specialised communities of interest to form around even the most obscure subjects, producing unprecedented and constantly evolving repositories of technical expertise, culture and journalism, all created by communities for the benefit of other community members. As Michael Wesch puts it, in this era of unprecedented connectivity, the machine is us. These changes are particularly important for the progressive movement. We're a movement founded on collective action, on people working together for mutual gain. From the early cooperatives, mutual societies and trade unions, progressives have pioneered new forms of institutional arrangements for organising collective action. The digital revolution has made a panoply of new ways of acting collectively possible, but we have not yet engaged with this change on a philosophical or institutional level. We need to do so soon, as the way we respond to the digital revolution has the potential to become a major ideological divide over the next decade, next century in fact. It has implications for how progressives should think about issues as varied as tax, defence, public services, trade, privacy and infrastructure investment. For this reason, the work of thinkers like Yochai Benkler, Richard Stallman, Eric Raymond, Lawrence Lessig, Eric von Hippel, who have studied these online communities, should be essential reading for all progressives. In particular, progressives must become aware of the ways that government and business can stifle these online communities. There are already many examples of this in Australia, particularly with respect to intellectual property. As Chief Justice French noted in a case close to the heart of my predecessor in this place, the Tobacco Plain Packaging Challenge, intellectual property is an instrument of policy created by government to serve the public. Figures as varied as Adam Smith, Friedrich Hayek and Thomas Jefferson have long warned of the dangers of this statutory monopoly and its tendency to expand. Despite this, policymakers continue to view intellectual property as little more than an innate property right to be unthinkingly protected by government. This orthodoxy is buttressed by trade agreements, often negotiated without transparency or democratic accountability, that instead of promoting free trade, are increasingly promoting the expansion of private statutory monopolies. Australian copyright law, in which all reproduction is prohibited other than specific narrow exceptions, is particularly problematic and is currently throwing sands in the gears of digital innovation in this country. In the absence of a broad-based fair use exception, innovations like the Google search engine and the iPod were legally problematic under Australian law upon introduction, chilling incentives for digital innovation in this country. Patent laws are already becoming a similar handbrake on innovation. As maker communities and 3D printing grow in popularity, so too will disputes about patent infringement. The emergence of commercial patent trolls in the technology sector is just the beginning of this problem. In response, progressives should champion a new microeconomic reform agenda to re-evaluate intellectual property law from first principles, focusing on incentives and public benefits, not the mindless protection of statutory monopolies. This process should be led by economists and innovators, not lawyers and rent seekers. Without it, intellectual property will increasingly become an instrument of the protection of vested interests rather than the promotion of innovation. As progressives, we must stand up for the new online communities created by the digital revolution. They are our people acting on a long progressive tradition, and we must be a voice for them in this place. To win the 21st century on matters digital, our mantra as progressives must become, it's the community, stupid.